Hi, it's Brian O'Connell. Welcome to Backyard Bartender. This is our first show in the series, and we thought it would be a good idea after COVID-19 and so many people being locked in and so many people deciding to go back to finding ways to amuse themselves. And if you follow social media at all, you'll notice that there's a lot of amateur mixologists out there now. So we thought it would be a good idea to bring you into a backyard bar, and as summer starts and gets underway, to show you how our amateur mixologists make drinks. And we're also going to bring along some professional mixologists to show us how to make some classic cocktails. So stick around for that. But first, like any good bar, we're going to start off with suds. We're going to talk beer when we come back on Backyard Bartender. Welcome back to Backyard Bartender. I'm Brian O'Connell, and this episode we're going to talk about something that people enjoy in the summertime in Newfoundland and Labrador. Well, who am I kidding? We enjoy it year-round. But there's something about a cold beer on a warm afternoon that just makes summer that much better. So I thought we'd talk to a guy who knows a little bit about beer. Well, actually more than a little bit. Henry Hussey joins us. Henry is the sales manager with Vidi Brewery, and Vidi Brewery is probably the oldest craft brewery producer in the province?
And I'm not quite positive. There's actually two of us. So it's us and Storm Brewery.
Okay.
So we've been around since around the same time, and we've been around since 1996. So this would be our 25th year anniversary this year.
So where did the idea for Vidi Brewery come from?
Well, to my knowledge, I believe Dave Fong was traveling. He was traveling quite a bit, and when he was over in the European kind of countries, he really just seen a lot of microbreweries and what they were doing and kind of fell in love with the whole thing. That's pretty much what craft beer does to you. And when he got back, he decided, hell, me and another guy are going to open up a brewery.
What a great idea. Okay, so I'm old enough to remember a store on Topsail Road where you'd go in and you'd buy a can that had some liquid in it and some yeast, I think, and then you'd get a white bucket and you'd stir it up and you'd cover it over, and then eventually you'd try and make beer, or I think more like a home brew, if you would.
Yeah, and you know what? Things have really, really changed, not only in the craft beer industry, but also with home brewing as well. So, I mean, home brewing really started to take foot in the 1970s and 1980s, and that's kind of really what pushed the whole craft beer explosion. You get a lot of people trying stuff at home or doing things, and then they get the bug as well, as I've just mentioned, and all of a sudden, you got craft breweries popping up everywhere.
So I have friends who talk about hops and make their own small batch craft beer, and they talk about IPAs and lagers, and I'm not that familiar. I mean, I know what a lager is, but can you explain the difference between a lager and an IPA?
Yeah, for sure. So IPA is actually an India Pale Ale, and this type of beer, it's a lot more hoppy. So it's going to have a lot higher IBUs. IBUs are international bitterness units, and that would measure how bitter a beer is. A lager can range anywhere from, 10 to 30 per se. Yeah. But when you're going to get something like an IPA, it's going to range from, 30 to all the way up to the imagination's the limit.
So I also noticed that you have lower alcohol content beers. And you see a lot more of those out too, because people are wanting to enjoy a cold beer, but they don't want necessarily the alcohol content.
Totally. So anything that's generally under 5% alcohol is called a sessionable beer. And this is actually a fairly new term. But a sessional beer is something that you can drink that's under 5% alcohol, that you can have one or two of, not feel too intoxicated, and still have just a great time, enjoy a nice little brew.
Now, we're going to talk about a specific beer here that I'm a huge fan of. Iceberg beer. How old is Iceberg beer?
Iceberg beer, we've been brewing that now for about a decade.
And it's made from?
It's made from iceberg water. And we get these really nice icebergs from a gentleman who works in Newfoundland, has a little barge. He actually goes out and harvests these icebergs. It's quite the sight to see.
All right, so the iconic blue bottle, that's something else that sets this apart from other beers.
100%. We wanted something that's like that nice cobalty blue color to try to really mimic that nice feel you would get when you see like an iceberg out in the water. Yeah. It's just a match made in heaven.
Of course, yeah, I can see that now. So I always imagine this coming out of a pan of ice water, and you see this come up. These are collectibles.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, we've actually seen people collecting these all over the world. They've been found pretty much everywhere. In fact, only recently, we had somebody who was traveling over in Africa, and I believe in South Africa, and there was a woman there that was actually making mosaic patterns out of these bottles. Somebody sent a picture, and there was a six-pack of iceberg in the background.
Yeah, like
so it travels well.
Who's her supplier?
I have no idea.
Something else I didn't know is that there are special glasses for tasting beer. And you can tell us a little bit about these. What are they called?
These are called Teku glasses, and this is actually the third iteration of that glass. Okay. Now, that glass is an Italian design beer tasting glass, and I believe it's touted as being the first glass that's specifically designed for tasting all types of beer.
And what makes that glass special?
Well, there's a couple little things there. So you're going to notice there's a bowl in the glass. It's very similar to drinking wine. So you pour it up just a little bit so you can collect some aroma. So when you're smelling it, you get a collection of aroma in the glass. And also the way that the top is designed, it's just meant to kind of like glide over your palate. So when you're sipping the beer, it just makes it super easy to do the whole sensory kind of thing when you're drinking.
Okay, so we move along to opening and pouring the beer. You're the expert, so please go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So a lot of people say don't get too much agitation when you're pouring a beer. You don't actually want to do that. You want to create a little bit of agitation to get the carbonation kind of moving. Now, a couple of things this is going to do. It's going to create a nice little head. It's going to release some of that carbonation from the beer, because if you keep a little bit too much carbonation in your beer, sometimes you're going to get a little bit of that gassiness, and you don't really want that, especially if you're eating with beer. So you're just going to pour this up, get a little bit of agitation. And if you're going to smell and sense, you don't want to do too much. You just want to have a little bit in there and actually do the swirl. And if you're going to really get into the sensory kind of feel, just a little light smell. And then you get right into it.
And so what am I going to taste when I taste this?
Well, I find with this beer, it's very clean, crisp. It's not going to leave a whole lot on your palate. Lagers are generally designed to be like that, especially American-style lagers. You're going to want a clean, crisp palate that doesn't really have a whole lot, and it's really easy to drink. The iceberg water is just going to add to this. It's going to add something that's super pure, because you basically don't want a whole lot of anything in this beer. You want it to be something you can sit down, drink a couple of, not exhaust your palate.
Now, do you have craft beer aficionados come into Quidi Vidi Brewery and, you know, give you a yes or a no for certain beers?
Well, some people, yes, they'll come in and give us a nod. But, you know, there's people that are actually called cicerones, and they're craft beer experts, or just beer experts.
I'm learning so much here. Cicerone.
Cicerone, yeah. So they'll just pop into the brewery sometimes, and, you know, they'll just have a beer. They're like anybody else. They'll pop into every craft brewery that they can whenever they go somewhere, and we always get a good chat of them. But this is actually internationally recognized. The NATO put off a beer judging thing a couple years back, and this one, the smoothest beer in NATO.
Incredible, incredible. So this is iceberg beer from Quidi Vidi Brewery, and Henry Hussey is with us today. We're going to talk a little bit more about beer. This is one, I would say, the flagship beer?
Yeah, I would say this is our #1 right now. So
you guys have been experimenting with so many other great beers, and we've got a couple more coming up on the show we want to tell you about. We're going to talk about, it's a margarita?
Yeah, it's a Margarita Cerveza. So a lot of fun there. You know, not all the time in the backyard you want to be mixing drinks all night, so this is kind of great to pull out later in the evening when everybody's kind of relaxed. They want to sit down and don't do too much time mixing anymore.
All right, well, I have a lot of questions, and a little later on, we're going to talk about sofas and beer in Newfoundland and Labrador. There is a connection, believe it or not, and Quidi Vidi Brewery has found a way to put that on a can. And we'll tell you more about all of that when we come back here on Backyard Bartender. Welcome back to Backyard Bartender. I'm Brian O'Connell, and joining us today, Henry Hussey, sales manager for Quidi Vidi Brewery. Some people call it Quidi Vidi Brewery.
They do, they do.
And we're fine with that. So you'll notice that he has now been indoctrinated into the Backyard Bartender Club. And I want to point something out. I have these t-shirts, and I also ordered aprons. And I was trying to fit my apron on, and it kept falling off. And then you showed me the correct way to do it.
Well, with these kind of things, I mean, you start off, and it's a little long in the back. So you start around the back, come around the front, and then you just got to tie in the front. It makes it a lot easier to get a little bit of a tight snug on it, so.
Now I know. So we go back to craft brewery, and craft beers, we're talking so many that are out there now. And Quidi Vidi has been mass producing a number of craft beers. One that caught my attention was the Cerveza?
Yeah, Margarita Cerveza.
Okay, so how does one come up with a Margarita Cerveza beer?
So it's really a big part of the team effort. We've got a fairly big brewing team at the brewery. It's about 7 brewers, I'm pretty sure. And between all of them, I mean, a lot of them enjoy home brewing. They enjoy brewing at work as well. But, you know,
what a job.
Right? They're always coming up with these really fun ideas, kind of things that you would like to drink or make, and they just basically come in with an idea and they kind of run with it.
So you sit around a table and then you throw out ideas?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, the brewers are going to have meetings and talk about ideas. And the really cool thing with us as well, we have a small batch pilot system. So it's not just big barrel brewing. We also do some small stuff that we work on recipes and we test out recipes and we kind of do things. And everything that you see here, this isn't the first time we've released this. This would be something that we might have tasted last summer in the brewery, but it would only be available in the tap room.
So seasonal beers are a big part of your business.
Yeah.
I remember years ago you had a Mummers beer.
Yeah, we did.
That was a long time back.
We actually had Mummers again last year, but we changed it up a little bit, get it a fresh rebrand. We actually do a partnership with the Mummers Parade. So yeah, we do a lot of stuff with those guys. We do a lot of cool little fun one-offs and partnerships with different communities on the island just to show a little support and shine some light on these people.
So this beer in particular, if you notice anything about it, one of the first things you'll notice is the can, the design on the can. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, we just take the name of the beer, the Margarita, the Cerveza, and we kind of try to pay a little fun and have a little homage with that kind of like culturalism on it. Yeah. So basically, we're just gonna take it. We got the little like candy skull on it, and we just have a lot of fun with it. Justin Fong, he's in charge of our marketing. He designs most of these, and that's generally what he likes to do a whole lot. A lot of the really cool art and cans. He works with different marketing people and just basically makes it come to life.
Well, this is an incredible design, and I want to talk about design because there's a lot of competition out there when you are marketing craft beer. And if you go into now any corner store, unlike years ago, you will find full coolers of craft beer, which you didn't see that many years back. And now it's a big thing. So you're competing for that share of the market. So the visual has to be very appealing.
100%. And it's, you know, you spend a lot of time and energy into marketing and it pays it for itself in the long run. We really like to have some fun with our brands. And in fact, the one we're going to show you later, it's going to be really fun.
I can't wait for that one because that really has piqued my attention. But we're going to go back to this one. I had in Texas one time, not that long ago, they called it a beer margarita. And I don't think this is anything like that because what they gave me was a margarita and they put a beer in it, which kind of ruined the margarita and equally ruined the beer.
Right, well, I don't think we're going to do that with here. I think the interesting thing about this is we spend the time and make the recipe and we basically Q&A it until it's absolutely perfect. And when we do that, it just makes it so it doesn't ruin that margarita or that beer.
All right, so I'll get you to open one up. And these glasses, again, are called?
Teku glasses.
Teku glasses. Write that down. There will be a run on these. Are these available locally?
Yeah, you can pick them up at actually Quidi Vidi Brewery at our hop shop.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go. So fill up the Teku glasses with one of these Margarita Cervezas and tell me what we're going to taste.
Oh, I don't even think I need to tell you. I think you're going to tell me in a second. Well, I'm going to tell you, Brian, right now, you're going to get a lot of lime. You're going to get a really good sniff in there. It comes right off in the nose, doesn't it? It doesn't hide from you at all. Second thing you're going to get when you taste it, a little bit of saltiness. So there's a little salinity in there just to add to it.
Why salt?
Well, I mean, any good salt is with a good margarita, am I right?
Of course.
You know, you're going to cut through that liminess a little bit, add a little depth of flavor. You know, salt is just used to accentuate flavor, and exactly the same in this.
What else?
Well, we got
something else in there.
It's got a little bit more. So we're also going to have a little bit of agave. So we use agave syrup to help with the fermentation a little bit as well. And that's going to give you that, you know, any good tequila is made with a good agave, right? And then we're going to finish it up, and it's actually a cerveza is corn-based. So you're going to get a little bit of that almost like corny, I would say, nacho or quesadilla flavor in the background that kind of really just takes it home.
So I guess this would go well with Mexican food.
Match made in heaven. Match made in heaven. If you want to make a nice nachos and sit on your backyard barbecue, this is perfect.
It sounds like a plan. So,
cheers you to that one.
Oh, wow.
It's nice, isn't it?
Wow, that's really alive.
And
it just bursts in your mouth.
And it's brilliantly tart as well.
Yeah.
So it's not quite sour, but it's got a little bit of acidity in there just to make it pop a little bit.
It's an incredible beer, and is it available all year long, or is this just a summer brew?
This is just going to be a summer brew for us, although there has been whispers that we might make it all year. We released this last December, and it sold like hotcakes.
Yeah.
So we decided to bring it back in the summer because this deserves the summer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we might bring it on all year, so who knows?
So Mexican Cerveza beer, and it's crafted by Vidi Brewery Company. This is a great beer. This is a great tasting beer.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Okay, this is one of many beers that you'll find in your local corner store from Quidi Vidi, and it's a good tasting beer, a great tasting beer, so I recommend that one. When we come back, we're going to take sofas, you know Nan's sofa? Nan's sofa, and we're going to transfer that to a beer. I know, I can't wait either. So stick around, we'll be right back with more on Backyard Bartender. Hey, welcome back to Backyard Bartender. I'm Brian O'Connell, and our special guest today, Henry Hussey, sales manager from Quidi Vidi Brewery, and we're talking beer, particularly summer beer in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, we've talked about the Margarita Cerveza. We talked about your flagship beer, the Iceberg beer, which is just an iconic bottle, and the story about that bottle showing up in South Africa, incredible. Beer drinkers everywhere are always looking to try something new and unique, and you guys are delivering on that this summer.
We are, yeah. We've got a brand new one coming out pretty soon.
All right, so this one we're going to talk about now is a sour cherry?
It's a key lime, sour with cherry as well.
So this is a dessert.
Well, not really. You know, it's nice and it's not too sweet. It's still going to be dry, just about as dry as, you know, an Iceberg or the Margarita Cerveza would be.
So it would be kind of like a lager?
No, well, a sour is going to be a little bit different, and I believe this one has what's called a Berliner Weiss base. So a Berliner Weiss is actually a German-style beer that's been around for a very, very long time, back to, you know, the Napoleon ages.
Really?
Yeah, a long, long time. So these styles of beers have been around for quite a while.
All right, let's talk about the can, because there's a lot of fun here.
There is. So this is the Sofa Sour series, and this is the 5th beer to come out in this series. And basically what we decided to be a little bit of fun just to take, you know, some really old classic prints from couches, put them on a beer can, and sell them to the public. And, you know, we've had a lot of fun with this project, and I think we're going to keep it going. It's been lots of fun.
I think my grandmother may have had this pattern. I'm not sure.
I think most grandmothers might have had this at some point.
I just want to read this to you because it's on every can. The Sofa Sours blend the present with the past. First, we create a beautiful sour beer. Next, we carefully choose the most delicious fruits to complement. And finally, we dress it up like a classic couch. Elegance and beauty with a touch of Nan. That's great. That's brilliant.
No, and you know, we're trying to pay homage to a little bit of fun there, right? So
who came up with this one?
I believe that's a Justin Fong idea. He came up with that one day and just kind of ran with it, and we all thought it was a great idea, so, you know, push it down.
I mean, when you get ideas for beers, are they all created or thought up locally, or do you see something somewhere else and say, hey, that's something we could do, we could make it a little more unique?
I think we try to be pretty original with everything we do. Craft beer is all about that, like kind of create your own, you know, walk your own path.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we do with all of our projects. I don't think you're going to see Chesterfields or sofas on anybody else's cans in the world.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Have you ever had a mistake, a failure? I mean, something that you thought would be a good idea and then didn't roll out quite the way you wanted?
You know, I could think maybe sometimes things just don't work out the way they seem.
Like there's no lobster beer or salt fish beer.
Well, I've actually seen avocado beer made with avocados in the United States. And as you get down to the more developed things, generally in those markets, you can see some pretty weird beers, you know, and people chase after that. People making beers with fruity pebbles and people making beer with frosted flakes. So, you know, it can get a little different and depending what your tastes are, I guess it'll align with that.
Now, I have to ask, is this all available on tap in your tap room? Or?
Well, this isn't right now. As I mentioned, this isn't quite released yet. So
Oh.
as soon as it gets released, we'll have this brand new, also available across in all of our convenience stores and LCs, and also in the tap room.
Brian's excited. So I'm going to get you to, again, the name of the glass is?
That's the Teku, yeah.
The Teku. We're going to use the Teku, and we're going to sample the Sofa Sour Key Lime Cherry. I feel like I should have a spoon, and there should be some ice cream or something with
Yeah,
this.
well, as I mentioned, it's not too heavy. This is gonna be light. It's gonna be refreshing, and it's gonna be a little bit more tart, a little bit almost like the sour side.
Okay.
And then we're gonna get to.
Oh, wow, look at the color.
Yeah, the cherry comes through beautifully
Wow,
on this.
look at that. Oh, no, that does look like a dessert. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, I like that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Cheers.
I'm probably a tad too excited. Cheers. Oh.
So it's a little bit different. The lime is a little softer.
Yeah, than the Cerveza.
Yeah,
Yes,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. And there's more of a head on this.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe this one's going to have a little bit more wheat. So wheat's going to give it a little bit more foam and head retention. It's carbonated just the same, but depending on how you brew the beer and what you put in it, it's going to change everything a little bit.
Okay, so what am I going to taste? What am I going to feel?
Well, I think first you're going to get that lime,
Yeah.
but the lime is going to be a little bit more subtle.
Okay.
As I mentioned, like we try to balance our beers. So we don't want to overpower the flavor of the cherry. We want to create something that kind of mixes harmoniously. So when you taste it, you kind of get a sensory like experience of both the fruits.
All right, well, here we go.
let's-
Cheers. Oh, that's really nice.
Oh, that key lime is
That-
definitely... And it's a different type of lime, as you can taste from the other beer as well.
I think you need to serve this with a spoon. I'm just saying, right? I'm tasting that lime and the sour, but the sour is not overpowering.
No,
you know?
no, it's not too much. Once again, a brilliant little bright tart acidic beer that you can really enjoy just in the sunshine. Those bright fruit flavors just complement what this
And
is.
again, this is a summertime beer that you guys are producing. And
But we do produce the Sofa Sours all year round. So this
Okay.
is a full-time brand for us.
so this is the key lime cherry, but the other ones are all key lime, or they?
No, it goes through a lot. So, we did a pineapple because pineapple's very, very popular in
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
Yes, it is, yeah.
We do a passion fruit. We also do a peach raspberry. So there's lots of different ones. And I believe coming a little bit longer in the summer, we might do a pink lemonade sour.
Oh, I look forward to that.
That one's...
And you can't mistake the pattern on the can, and a tribute to or a shout out to Nans Everywhere with this wonderful Sofa Sour Key Lime Cherry. And this is just a few of the many beers that you'll find. Craft brewers are making these beers right across Newfoundland and Labrador. And of course, you guys are leading the way. Henry Hussey is the sales manager for Quidi Vidi Brewery. And your tap room is open. If people are visiting, they want to come down and have a try.
Yes, sir. We're open every single day.
And also, you can go into pretty well any corner store now, and you'll see those craft beers. The Quidi Vidi kiosk is there with the beers inside.
You will. And I tell you, if you see one that got a sofa pattern on it, you can guarantee it's ours.
All right. Henry Hussey, thank you so much for joining me today.
My absolute pleasure.
This is Backyard Bartender. I'm Brian O'Connell. I'll be right back. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thanks to Henry Hussey and Quidi Vidi Brewery for bringing along these wonderful beers. I hope you learned something today. I know I did. Now, coming up in our next episode, we're going to talk whiskey with a couple of bartenders that you may know from around St. John's. And we're going to talk about a couple of classic whiskey drinks, and we're going to talk about something called a Scotch cocktail. Now, I'm not a big Scotch drinker, and I know very little about whiskeys, but these guys are professionals, and they're going to talk to us about that and make some fabulous drinks for us. So if you like Scotch, if you like whiskey, if you want to learn a couple of new recipes, join us for our next episode of Backyard Bartender, and we'll give you some great drinks that you can enjoy in through the fall of the season, because when the weather gets cool, a nice Scotch drink or a nice whiskey drink is something that we can all enjoy. I'm Brian O'Connell. Thanks for joining us for Backyard Bartender, and we'll see you again next time.
The following program is brought to you